Hello students, welcome back. Today we are going to be working on this guy right here. This is figure 8-52. Now this guy is a little bit tricky. There's some tricky math, tricky stuff going on in there, and that's okay. I want to show you guys a few tricks, how to make life a little bit easier for you. And the biggest thing that we are going to be focusing on is called tangent and trim. And we're going to be making this little ski slope here. That's part of the tricky part of it. So, and I'll probably show you some fillet too. I think that's a new thing as well. So, this little guy, this is what we are going for. Okay? Alright, let's see here. So, I already made sure we're in inches and everything, so we don't need to do that again. Going to go to sketch, and I'm going to make the top plane. Okay? What I'm going to do real quick, like game plan here, I'm going to make this base down here, then I'm going to cut in this notch and this notch right there. Okay, then I'm going to pull this middle part up. I'm going to pull it up like a block, and then we're going to cut the little ski slope part out, and then we'll finish it up by pulling this part up, rounding this edge off, and doing the holes that we need to do. So first thing, bottom 4.75 by 2. So let's go ahead, let's get into that. Corner rectangle, bam, bam. All right, 4.75, and this side right here is 2. All right, so we have that. Next thing we have to do is go ahead and pull it up, extrude boss base. Looks like it has to be pulled up, yep, 0.75 inches. Alrighty, bam. So we have our piece right here, our block, our basics to start with. Now I just want to cut that notch out right there. How I got the 0.75 is 0.5 and 0.25. So next thing let's do a sketch on this face right here, corner rectangle, bam, bam. Smart dimension, this guy right here has to be, ooh, that was close, 0.25 is what we want it to be, and it looks like it goes back into the piece 2.25 there. Okay, so we have that little guy. Do a little features. Let's see here, we're cutting it, and I just want to cut through everything. Boom. Alright, once the computer catches up, looks like we are good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this notch right here out. Now it looks like it's 0.62 from the back edge, so from here it'll be 0.62 forward, and then here it's going to be 2.25 and 0.62 from the front edge. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do our sketch on this face right here. We are going to go ahead and notch it out something like that. From the back, I want to say it is 0.62. Then from the front, and I'm going to be a little bit lazy here just to show you something, it's 2.25 plus 0.62. Now, I could figure that out. I could easily figure that out, but Solidworks, it just makes it so much easier. So treat it like a calculator and have it figure out your dimensions for you. Okay, now let's see here. It's coming in. Ooh, this is a harder dimension to read. It is 0.75. If you look right here between that arrow and that arrow, 0.75. So that's a really kind of a tricky one to see what it's actually going for, what it's pointing at right there, but that should be it. Alright, let's lop that sucker off. That would be fine. I'm going to do through all. Don't know, just personal preference. Cool. Alright, now we have this ski slope here that we're going to make. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a rectangle right about here, and I'm going to pull it up to be the right height. This is 2.50 but we already came up 0.75 inches, so we have to remember that. Okay, I'm gonna make this way longer. We don't know how long this thing is. We know this top flat part is 1.25, and then we know it comes down at a 60-degree angle and kind of ski slopes in a radius of 0.5 at the end. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be. So I'm going to make it longer than it needs to be, and we're just going to cut off what we don't need anymore. So sketch it right here. Bam. I'm just going to make it in. That's plenty longer than what it needs to be. Okay, now the width of this thing, if I'm looking at it, looks like it's 0.75, so we got that. This needs to be even with that, and so really the dimension here should be 0, and we can just see move the whole thing over. Okay, this line is locked in the back. We are well defined. We are good to go. We're ready to go ahead and pull it up. So that'd be extrude boss base. So we are going to pull it up. The whole feature is 2.5. Now, once again, I could do the math, but I'm just going to do 2.5 tall, 2.5 inches tall, minus 0.75, because we are already 0.75 off the bottom. So, all right. That is what we have so far. Let's go ahead and we're going to get into the tricky part. We are going to go ahead and do the ski slope. Okay, points that we do know, stuff that we do know: 1.25 forward, 60 degrees coming down, and then a little radius of 50 down there. And this is where tangent and trim comes in. Okay, I'm going to look at it straight on from the front. Might make things, no, I'm going to do it just like that. Okay? All right. So we're going to do a sketch. We're going to do it on this face here. And grab this. Make sure you don't anchor this to any midpoint or anything like that, because we're going to be moving this, adjusting it, and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to make it go way down here, and I'm going through this junction here. I'm going through that for a reason. Remember, we're on this plane here. If I move it this way, remember we're on that plane there yet, but I'm going way farther than what we need to do. Okay, a little smart dimension from this point, not from the line, but from the point to the back. Looks like we have 1.25. Can't see my keyboard now. I think this is where I was putting it in. 1.25. Boom. Okay, we have that. Now we have two lines coming to a vertice. We can, I'm going to zoom in here, make sure, is that point right? Yeah, looked to me like for a second like it was not on that line, but I think that was just me and my eyes. All right, so from this line to that line, we need it to be a 60-degree angle, so we have it. Now notice that it's going long, but that's good. It went right through that. Okay. All right, so we have the angle that we're going to have. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead, come across here, make a line. I'm going to put a circle in here, and we're going to tangent it to those two lines. Okay, hopefully it'll make more sense as we go. So down here, I'm going to go to this corner, all the way from this corner. I'm going to come. I don't necessarily need to anchor it all the way back there, but I am going to come through where these two cross. Okay, now I got a cling on there, right click, hit select, or you could have hit escape, either way. Okay, so we have this line, we have this line, they're going through each other, they're crossing each other. Now we need that circle. Okay, now it's showing me like we could line it up the center right with that line. We don't want that. We want it out here. We want it to remain just kind of by itself. Okay, now the radius, if we look here, R means the radius. Okay, the symbol right here, that means diameter. this R, that means radius. So it's here. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Hit escape to get rid of that one. Okay. Still on this guy right here. Boom. Radius should be 0.5. So that's the size circle that we want it to be. Now what we want to do is we want to tangent that guy to this line and to this line. Now, I'm sure you remember from math class, from geometry, tangent means touching in one point. Okay. So I'm going to grab my circle. So I clicked my circle once. I'm going to push and hold Control on my keyboard. And you do have to hit Control. You have to hold it. Now I'm going to hit that line there. Okay. Now I can let go of Control. Control just means that you can click, you can select two things. And it's looking for a property. It's looking for relationships between it. And it's saying I could do these two relationships. I could do tangent or a fix. Fix means it doesn't move. It doesn't move anywhere. We'll be using that later on. I want to use tangent. So now it moved over. It is touching this line right here in one spot. Hit the green check to get rid of that. So now the circle is good as far as this line. It's not good as far as this line here. We can see it's coming down underneath that just a little bit. So what we want to do is the same thing again. I clicked off just to make sure nothing is selected. I'm going to grab my circle, click on that, hold Control, wait for this line to turn orange and get selected. Go ahead, do that, and I'm going to hit tangent. And if you notice, the circle jumped up a little bit, so now it's touching this line in only one spot. And this little guy right here came. That's just telling me, yep, it's tangent. It's a constraint. It's locked in. And in this case, we want it to be locked in. Okay? Now, I need all of this, but I have more than what I need. So we're going to go to Trim Entities. There's a whole bunch of different ones that you can do. I don't even know if we'll be using a lot of those later on. We just want the trim, the power trim. Okay. Now what that's going to be able to do is when we slice through something, we cut through something. We're not clicking on something. We slice through something, and it'll take it away to an endpoint, the first endpoints that it sees. So we'll see if this works. If it doesn't, we can fix it. Cut through that. Perfect. Took away all of that circle, left just that down there, left the little ski slope stuff. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that, cut that off. It cut most of what I wanted. I want to take a little bit more off, so I'm going to zoom way in, and I'm just going to cut that guy off as well. Okay, you can barely see it, but we have this line here that we did before. Cut that line off as well right there. So we are almost there. We now have our little ski slope. Okay, came out 1.25 inches, angle of 60 degrees, and this arc right here has a radius of 0.5. Last thing before we cut this thing out, we do need to enclose it. Okay, can't quite cut it unless it's an enclosed shape. So being patient, waiting for the little orange dots to show up. Got that right there. Yep, we want those lines. Go to Feature, Extrude Cut. All right, now last time I did this, it did not know what to do. It did like thin feature. It did something funky like that. Okay, and I was hoping it would do it again, but that's all right. If it ever wants to cut the wrong stuff, like it assumed you want to cut this and not that, you go down to Selected Contours and choose what you actually want to cut. A lot of times Solidworks, it guesses what you want to do, and most of the time it's actually pretty close and it's pretty right in what you want to do. But sometimes you have to do Selected Contours and tell it to do something. Good thing to always do is look for the blue. If it highlights something blue, it's asking you something. Go ahead and check it, and now we have our ski slope nicely done, nicely taken care of. Okay, all right, now let's do this next part right here. Can be a little tricky with the math. Looks like it is, the total is 1.12, And here, this radius right here is 0.37. That means that if I go up 1.12, I have to go up also another 0.37 to get to the top of that line. But remember, we already came up 0.75. So down here, I'm going to do a sketch, going to do it right on top of that block, going to do corner rectangles. If I anchor it at the two side points, I don't even have to do any dimensions or anything like that. Features, extrude boss base. So we're going to pull it up. Once again here, we could do this one. We can do it mathematically right in there, or we could do it on a calculator. I'm going to do it right in here. I'm going to do 1.12 plus 0.37. That's just to put that little arc on the top, minus 0.75, because we are already 0.75 up there. Okay, boom, figured it out for us, and it put it in for us as well. So we now have this right there. Now cutting off this, rounding off this corner. Let me pull up the picture a second. Rounding off that corner. Two ways I could do it. Once again, I could do a circle, tangent it to this line, tangent it to that line, trim off anything we don't need, enclose the shape, and then cut that. Excuse me. But we don't need to do that involved in this one here. We can use fillet. Now fillet is really cool. You can fillet or you can chamfer. Chamfer is when you just like take a flat little 45 degree off something. Fillet is when you round something out. We're gonna fillet this. It says, hey, this is blue, what do you want to fillet? I want to fillet that line right there. Okay, now what do you want to fillet at? 0.37. That's what we had before. If you don't have a partial preview selected, it's nice to select it so you can see a little bit about what it's going to look like. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. And so I hit it, and it is good to go. Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. We have a bunch of circles that we're going to do. We're going to do these front circles right here next. Okay. Now, this terminology is a little bit confusing, and that's all right. What this means is this is a countersunk. Basically, we have a big hole going down a certain distance, and then maybe a little like step or a little shelf, and then a smaller hole going all the way through. Okay, small hole is 0.62 in diameter. The large hole, that doesn't go down all the way, but the large hole is 1.12 in diameter again, and it goes down 0.25 inches. So we're going to make a big hole, go down 0.25 inches, and then a small hole. All right, so let's see here. Let's go sketch, choose where we want to do the sketch, grab a circle. You can just make a circle anywhere you want. I'm just going to make it here. It is not centered up and down. I'm going to do something with that a little bit later on. Basically, I'm going to make a mistake on purpose. Okay. Now this big one, the radius, I don't know, the radius is 1.12 in diameter. I'm just going to take that divided by 2. Oh, look at that, 0.56. And so that is the hole that we want it to be. Now, really, I should smart dimension it up and down, left and right, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut it through first just to show you how you could go back. I just cut it through. Oh, I just did a mistake there too. Whoops, that one wasn't on purpose. Okay, say you did something and it's the wrong thing. It should not be going all the way through. It should be a blind cut. And secondly, it's not centered up and down. It's not in the right spot, right and left. Okay, so what do you do when you have issues with that? Well, what you can do is you can go up here and you can edit the sketch, or you can edit the feature. And in this case, we actually have to do both because I messed up. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, hit edit sketch, and smart dimension looks like from the center to there, that should be, according to the figure, 1 inch. So now that thing is centered the way it's supposed to be there, okay? And from yay to yo, that thing should be 1.25 inches right there, okay? So 1 inch down, 1.25 right there, and we are good to go with that. Now I'm just going to go ahead, come out of here. This means exit the sketch. Now it'll still do the feature. See how it's grayed out? Once I exit the sketch, it still is going to apply the feature, and we have that hole. Even though I made that hole wrong, we still have that hole. I'm going to click here again. Now I'm going to edit my feature. Okay, now I cut it down, and just going too fast, I did through all. Really, I wanted that to be blind 0.25. Okay, so now if we look at it from the front, it's not going all the way through, it's only going 0.25 through. Okay, so that's nice to know that you can always go back anything. If you mess anything up, you can always go back, you can fix it. Sometimes it gets to be a little bit too much of a problem if you have like things overlapping and stuff like that, but it is nice to know you can always go back and fix it. All right, go to sketch, boom, right there, circle. Now I'm doing my sketch in the bottom of this circle here, okay, right there. It says 0.62 in diameter. You could do 0.31, or you can do 0.62 divided by 2. Really doesn't matter at all right there. Now go to features, extrude cut. I'll just do this one through all. Bam. All right, cool. So it's good to know how to go ahead and fix stuff. All right, I'm going to put these two holes in here real quickly. Boom, let's see here. So this looks like it's going to be, so if this radius is 0.37, this hole here, 0.31 diameter, is going to be 0.37 down and 0.37 from the side. So let's do a sketch right there. Make our hole just somewhere. How big is the hole? The hole is 0.31 divided by 2. And Solidworks will figure it out for me from the top. Now make sure I don't go to the curve, but from this line here, we want it to be 0.37. And there, wow, is that point? Oh, that's almost 0.37 already. But no, it's exactly in the right spot. All right. Features, extrude cut, through all, and we are done with that. One last little hole that we have to put in there. This one's a 0.43 in diameter. Looks like it's 0.68 from the back and a ½ inch down from the top. So let's go ahead, sketch right on our ski slope. Boom. Put in this hole right there. Let's see here, 0.43 divided by 2 to get that right there. Boom, boom. I want to say it was a ½ inch down. And then from the back, looks like it's 0.68. Features, extrude cut, go through the whole thing, and real quick check. I think we're done. I think that we are good to go. So hopefully that made sense. Biggest things I want you to pick up from this one here, from this figure: tangents. Make a circle, make it touch in only one point, or you could have two lines, make them touch in only one point. The tangent relationship, the trim feature, the ability to go ahead and do the trim entities, and then also it's in the features because it's 3D, but the fillet as well. Okay, So hopefully you guys have mastered, or at least are now familiar with that. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.